Hello and welcome to the official Scottish Rugby Podcast. We're back after a short break, and again this year we'll be covering weekly content from around the game. This year we're delighted to be working with Royal Bank of Scotland over the course of the Guinness Six Nations, and they're going to help bring these podcasts to you.
I need to ask you this, Chris, because I know what I am, but are you more of a spender or a saver? What is it?
Oh, I'd be a saver, I think. Still and boring as it is. I would save up. If I was going to spend, I would save up and look forward to spending on something that I would see as worth spending on. I don't know what the players are like, but that's what we're going to dig into, really, aren't we? We'll maybe ask what the players like to do, some of their habits, and also how a partnership with Royal Bank can potentially help them off field and on field as well. So I'd put myself down as a saver. Royal Bank as well, close ties with the grassroots of the game as well, through Royal Bank Rugby Force. That's something else we're looking at, is just maybe try and take some of the players back to their grassroots. It'll be a long time ago for me, my grassroots rugby, but some of these current players and the men's and women's teams and the sevens teams, the professional teams, it ain't too long since they've been at the grassroots game. So it'll be good to get their perspective and how the grassroots obviously prepared them for the life in and around rugby. Well, I'd like to welcome Jamie Ritchie and Fraser Brown. We're here in Spain, building up ahead to the first of the Guinness Six Nations games this weekend in Dublin. We're in Spain, great venue, great facility. For those who don't know, the training pitches are pretty much on campus, gym on campus.
A wee bit of walk.
A wee bit of walk. Too far?
Yeah.
Too far. What is it?
Oh, we got a lift
walk?
today, it was ideal.
Yeah. You got a lift. But joking apart, it's a different strategy to what we've seen before in recent kind of preparations in terms of being away for the Six Nations, but something that you think's worthwhile and working at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's been good. I think it's quite nice to get out of the bubble. Six Nations is a tournament like no other. It's quite nice to be out of that bubble, as it were, away from sort of any kind of prying eyes. You've got the opportunity to just focus on everything you're trying to do to put on the pitch for the weekend. It's quite nice. We've got a few new guys in the squad, coaches and players, so it's quite a good opportunity to connect with guys off the pitch.
It gives you more time to do that, doesn't it?
Yeah. In
around meal times or downtime when you're in a camp. And I think, Jamie, it's good that it's the opening week as well, isn't it? Like to get 100%. That bond, especially when a lot of change.
Yeah, as Fran says, there's a lot of new people in, so it's maybe time to do something new as well. So getting away for the first week's probably not a bad thing. I think for us, it's very easy to get into a habit of when we're at room all the time, just to kind of do the same thing, eat your meal, go up to your room, sit in your room, and this kind of forces you to get out of your comfort zone a bit. Yeah, exactly. Order room service in your room. Exactly.
More food.
So yeah, it's good and it's a bit different. It gives us a chance to get to know everyone.
And there's new faces, as you say, but you know most of the new faces, new to the squad, but was there anybody you didn't know coming in, or you had to get to know a bit better?
Would you know Alex Craig? I played twice with Alex.
I
didn't know Alex, no, but I roomed with him the first night, so got to know him then. Nick Spoons, Bergie's slimmer big brother. So I met Nick. I think we did the Krabbies launch in the summer when I was in boots and crutches and all sorts. So I met Nick from then. But yeah, Alex is probably the only guy that I hadn't actually met.
Did you play 2 years or 20s?
Just 1 year. He came to Manchester with us.
That's right. You put up at number 8 then as well.
Exotic at Manchester. I think he was more second row, and then the next year I think he played a lot in the back row.
Yeah, and he's
good.
He's good,
big laddie. He's put on a lot of weight since 20s as well.
Well, I thought that because I always saw him as a really explosive, which he is, a back row player, but he's happy in the second row in a pretty international class second row at Gloucester, and certainly thrown his weight about the sessions.
Claims he does no arms in the gym. That's just that's a lie.
That must be the first person that's ever claimed he does no arms in the gym, is it?
Yeah, he can play in the front row. He's got a big thick neck.
I did no legs in the gym. Does that count? Could you tell? So there's lots of new faces, a new approach, and in all honesty, a World Cup cycle, or towards the end, or at the end of a World Cup cycle, change is natural with retirees, with the 4-year cycle everybody talks about. I think it's silly to look 4 years in advance. I think it's really important that what has to be the focus is what comes next, and that's Ireland. There's another change, obviously, we have to touch on, and personnel are missing. One of those is Finn Russell, and just there's been a lot of comment, a lot of spoken about that. But in terms of the impact on the squad, since last Sunday. What's it been like at training on the field? That's what we care about, on the field, and how's it impacted the squad?
I think for the group, it's been the same since we've been in camp. So for us, it's not affected us too much. I wouldn't say. It's all a bit of background noise, to be honest. And I think the group's prepared really well throughout it. Training's been really sharp, and then coming out here was just a bit of a blessing in disguise. It was unplanned, but to get away from all that noise.
I think just having new people in and around the squad, not just players. Obviously, we've got a couple of new coaches as well. There's been a lot of excitement around the squad. Been a lot of information to take in. For those that have been in international camps, there is a lot of information that comes at you very quickly, as opposed to when you're at your club. So there's a lot of extra work to do and to digest. But because of that sort of information overload, because of that energy, it's kind of allowed everyone to just get on with the job of preparing for Ireland.
What's harder in terms of preparation? And the obvious question is physical, but is it hard? Is the physical drain harder than the kind of mental ability to cope with all that information? That new information is coming from new coaches, new players, new strategy. It's not a clean slate, obviously. There's a bit of carryover, but like in a week like this, where you're building up to the first game of the Guinness Six Nations, is it the physical strain that's harder, or is it the information strain?
I think it's the info. I mean, we're both forwards, so there's a lot of information that comes at you. Obviously, this week being the first week, but next week, and there's a lot of new information that comes in. Line-out calls change every week. We have different plays that come in, so and you don't have a lot of time to digest that. You probably get given that on Monday morning, to be honest, and then you've got a little bit of time to get it into place for Monday afternoon. But then when you come in on Tuesday, it's got to be learned, because you have such small time frames to be able to get quality out of your sessions, because you can't spend a lot of time on feet, because your main objective is to be in the right place to perform at the weekend, to be fresh, exactly. So there's a lot more pressure at the start of the week, and it can be a challenge for guys that maybe not been in that environment before, but that's what Test Rugby is about. It's not just challenging on the pitch, but it's challenging the way you prepare, and challenging in your attitude away from the pitch to allow you to go out and perform.
I suppose another bonus of being here. We spoke about the time we spend, the downtime, in preparation. So that in a week like this is another string to the bow for being away. And as you do look ahead to Ireland, so what do you expect to see? Is it a case of focusing on yourself? Ireland have a new head coach. I believe there's quite a bit of pressure on Ireland. There's a kind of pressure I feel from the Irish public to change the style of the game. They were pretty successful in of late, right up until their quarter-final of the World Cup.
I don't think they'll change too much. You would expect that Andy Farrell will come in with some of his own ideas, which probably will be implemented.
And he's running attack rather than defence now, isn't he?
From someone that spent quite a lot of time in the last couple of years sitting in defence meetings, I think that's actually could be quite a good thing, because you see both sides of it. So I don't think that'll be too much. Andy Farrell spent a lot of time in league running attack systems and being part of that, so I don't see that being too much of a change.
Because I think he's doing attack, and Mike Catt's doing some attack stuff. Simon Easterby, who's team manager, he's now defence. So it's safety numbers, it's sharing information, but it'll be interesting to see what to throw. But you obviously don't know what they're going to throw, because they are a relatively new style. But with Conor Murray, a team was announced today, Conor Murray and Johnny Sexton, you'll expect them to be pivotal in how they play and how they approach this game. Yeah,
well, you look at that side that they've announced, it's a good side. And no matter what they do, they'll be tough to break down. So I think for us, we need to look at what we can, what we've seen from them in the past, but be ready for whatever they throw at us, and, as you say, focus on ourselves. And I think that's the main thing. As long as we get our bits right, if we can stay in the game. Then.
And the emotional edges, the last time we played was the game in Yokohama, 27-3, that they came out on top. And it was almost, I remember at the time, it was almost like a perfect storm of, I actually thought Scotland, I said this before, started really quite well and found a bit of space inside the defence on the edge. And then when they scored the first try, they got momentum. We fell off the pace, I believe, a little bit. And then when you were trying to chase them, the rain came in, so it was almost a perfect storm. But I think time's a great healer, but I don't believe it's that great a healer that there's not an emotional response from some of the stuff that you guys would have to face after that game in Yokohama.
Definitely. You didn't play in Yokohama, were you?
No, I missed that one.
Recovering from your broken face.
3-week recovery.
Yeah, there's going to be a reaction. Obviously, I think we felt, we've so badly underperformed in that game.
Yeah, we put so much into it as well, throughout the pre-season.
So there will be an emotional response. It's the Six Nations, so it is the toughest tournament in the world for one rate. You're playing I think every team bar Italy is ahead of us in the world rankings. It's such a short tournament that, you know, results don't go your way in weeks 1 and 2, then you are on the back foot. So there's that emotional side as well. And I think for us, when you were just describing how the game went, I think one of our big problems over the last couple of years is having that ability to stay in games. So there's always going to be a cycle in the game where you're perhaps on the back foot. And where we've let ourselves down probably is that it may only be 10 or 15 minutes, but in that 10 or 15 minutes we've conceded 10 or 15 points, and then you're chasing games. And it, you know, international rugby, the hardest thing to do is chase a game, because the players are so good that you're against it, they're able to just pick off those opportunities.
And that's quite, it sounds ridiculous, but it's quite easy to identify that and you feel it, but actually on the field it's such a difficult thing to kind of stop it or get the wrong. So is it almost damage limitation for periods of the game, because you know the quality of opposition, they're going to have periods where you know you are just hanging on. So it's almost recognising, I think it's quite easy, but it's stopping that, and whether it's a massive collision or whether it's trying to get your hands on the ball. I don't know, how do you reverse that momentum when it's against you?
It's a tough one. I think it's, as you say, it's tough to identify, but doing it as best as you can. And when you get an opportunity, maybe if they've been in a period of attack and you manage to get the ball back, rather than maybe kick it if it kicks on, just try and hold on to the ball.
Retain possession and control it.
Just so you can control the game a wee bit more. As you say, if on the back foot in defence, it's often a big hit makes the difference. So looking for that and kind of breaking that cycle almost.
I think how you prepare is a big thing. I think
so. You almost expect elements of the game that are going to be so tough that it's not a shock when it comes.
I think we've all been in training sessions where you train your perfect game of rugby, because you're playing against guys that obviously know your systems. You're generating quick ball because there's no contact element, and a training session becomes your perfect game of rugby, exactly what you want it to be. And I think the way you prepare in parts of training where it doesn't go your way, or the guys that don't play have got a huge part in how you prepare. So I think a lot of that comes in how you prepare at the start of the week on the pitch, and I think players as well. We talk about experience and all these things, but psychologically, how you prepare, so how you prepare yourself for those moments, how we talk about bouncing through mistakes, so you don't dwell on them, and the systems that you can have in place. So maybe you have been on the back foot, or maybe you shelled a couple of passes or dropped something, like having a system that you go back to that gets you back in the game. You know, so much about rugby now is so physical, and being able to generate quick ball but on the front foot. So do you have something that's going to allow your forwards, allow your big game players to get back in the game quickly and be impactful and try and change that momentum? So
and training like reaction and stuff as well, like you're not stopping every time maybe a line out doesn't quite go right, but letting the other team play, and you have to react to that. You have to suddenly go from attack to defence, and I think that transition period is where a lot of teams score points. Maybe not so much Ireland, but a lot of other teams score off turnover ball. So being able to transition is a huge thing.
Exciting. Ireland named their team: Jordan Lammer, Andrew Conway, Gary Ringwald, Bundy Aki, Jacob Stockdale, Johnny Sexton, Conor Murray. There's no real surprises there. I say it's quite very experienced, consistent. They've got a bit of everything. Jordan Lammer's a kind of a sparkling attacker at 15, or a defence slightly different to Rob Carney's, but still quality battling. And then for you guys up front, Keane Healy, Rob Hearn, the Ulster hookers in, Tag Furlong, second rows Ian Henderson, James Ryan, Seiji Standard at 6, Josh Van der Fly at 7, and then Keelan Doris, who is just 21. Did you play against him, Jamie, at 20s?
I'm not sure. Potentially, if he's 21, then he's a wee bit younger than me.
He's been outstanding for Leinster this year. He deserves his shot, doesn't he? He's got an athletic number 8, isn't he? He runs good lines, his dynamics, explosive.
I think that Ireland pack's quite athletic and dynamic.
More so than they've had.
I think so. Like, you look through the spine of it, you know, Rob Herring's probably been one of the best players in the Pro 14 over the last couple of years. Unfortunately, he was stuck behind the Ireland captain, but he's great around the pitch. Second rows, James Ryan's probably just about the highest working second row on both sides of the ball in the world. So you know he's going to be active on and off the ball. Those guys in the back row have all got the ability to get around the pitch. So it can be a big physical battle, but there is a lot of dynamism there, a lot of mobility there. So
can't wait.
Yeah,
I can see that. I'm watching. You guys, I bet you can't wait to get into. Just take the ball and go for it. Get that buzz. Get that first that first contact, that first involvement in any Six Nations. We won't look too far ahead, obviously, but I think it's worth getting your thoughts on the Six Nations as a whole. Obviously 4 of the 6 teams are new head coaches. We've already talked about the change, but just ourselves in England have retained head coaches but changed assistant coaches.
Yeah.
So it really is a new feel about it. Who do you think poses the biggest threat? Obviously Ireland this weekend's the focus, but in terms of England reaching a World Cup final, I think they'll try and add to the game. I think Wales have got a whole new structure. Stephen Jones is assistant coach to Wayne Pivac, but he's a quality operator and brings some attacking edge there. France have been so successful the last couple of years under 20s, and the guys who've won that championship are stepping up and being more consistent now and getting some glory. So it's a tough whole championship.
Such an interesting championship.
And week 1's so important.
Yeah, I've said before, week 1 and 2 are just huge. They get you off to fire, or all of a sudden you're under pressure after 8 days of the competition. I think it's so exciting this year just because there are so many changes. You know, you don't know if styles are going to change, and that can be a good or bad thing for teams, because there is always going to be a bit of a bedding in process, and how quickly you can get that into your players, get that information in it, and get those systems working. I think England, you know, I just look at England, I look at the players. I think if you look at the players that they've left out, and you think, why have they left them out? And then you see the guys that are in their squad, and there's just such quality there.
But they start in Paris.
And they start in France, which...
Call a winner in that one, eh?
Well, I know. It's... cliches are cliches for a reason, but you don't know sometimes
what they're going to
come out with. They've got such, France have got
some
such
of their
an
individuals,
exciting squad, unbelievable talent they got. But does experience start to play a part at some point? Like we spoke about how you manage parts of the game if you're on the back foot. Does that come into it, or does that sort of lack of experience and that freedom almost free the whole team up to not have that pressure? So.
And Sean Edwards in defence,
as
well. He'll probably change mindset a little bit, and how that'll interact and work in France, I don't know. I think it'll have a positive impact, but it'll be a shock for some of the French guys.
I think so. But I think it's worrying that if he gets them working in the way that he wants to get them work, then France will be a huge threat. Wales have been the best defensive team over the last decade.
Will they change what they're doing?
I don't know.
Jamie?
I have no idea. I think
it's so hard, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
because Pivac plays a more kind of open brand of rugby when he's with Scarlets.
Look at Scarlets, how they play, but they still defend well as well. They're not all out attack. They're not always score more points than you. They still defend the game very well. So I think if something's not broken, do you need to fix it? I think they'll come with a bit more of an attacking edge. They'll probably try and play a wee bit more, which then I don't know if that affects their whole game plan. Or
I think the core principles of winning test match are defence, set piece, and you can have the most attacking players you like, but if you don't get those foundations in place, you can chase games.
And is that because Six Nations you only have 8 weeks together, so it's actually easier to get defensive systems and follow than the kind of more creative edge to attack?
No, if you defend well, you stop them scoring points.
But you don't score anyway if you're not attacking.
But if you can keep teams under if you can keep teams under 15 points, you need to score a try and a couple of penalties. Now, that might sound quite a negative outlook, but you don't win prizes for playing pretty rugby and not winning games. So and you've seen that time and time again. The best teams tend to win the big competitions because they defend well.
We'll soon find out. As I say, this weekend it'll kicks off. I'll let you guys get away. More training tomorrow. Travel to Dublin later in the week, and just from all of us, good luck. We'll be watching behind you, and look forward to catching up with you next week. Thanks, folks.
Cheers.
It's great to get the insights of Fraser Brown and Jamie Ritchie just a few days before the Guinness Six Nations tees off officially. The men's game isn't the only fixture, obviously. The action kicks off at Netherday on Friday night, where our Scotland Club 15 take on the Irish Club 15 in the first leg of their Dalriada Cup. A big opportunity for our club players to play international rugby on home soil this weekend. And the under-20s play at Irish Independent Park in Cork on Friday night against a tough Ireland under-20 side who are always really physical and have had a lot of success over the last few years, and Scotland women playing Sunday, and looking to build on the great performance in Spain and the victory over Spain just 2 weeks ago. So we'll look forward to running our eye over all those fixtures and picking the bones of it next week. Also at the weekend, round 8 of Super 6, there's one or two interesting fixtures and results actually. Herets came out on top, big win for Herets at Goldenacre. I actually went down to that game and thoroughly enjoyed it. It's 53-10 against Boroughmuir Bears. Herets playing some of their famous wide rugby and just really hit the ground running. 2 tries within the first about under 10 minutes really set this stall out, and Boroughmuir Bears just couldn't get their defensive line set properly and quickly to create any or stop any momentum for Herets, and Herets worthy winners, big scoreline there. Stirling got a win at home against the tabletop in Watsonians, 27-24. It's a big result for Ben Cairns' Stirling side. And Ayrshire Bulls lost at home to Rob Christie's Southern Knights, who've performed really well. That's 3 wins in a row after struggling a little bit in the early part of the season, but the Southern Knights up to 4th in a playoff spot now in the league. So Watsonians and Herets are joint top, 28 points. And it's the Bulls, Knights, and then Stirling and Bears making up the table for the Super 6. Interesting next fixtures, Super 6 aren't until the 14th of February, and the top 2 face off at my side, Watsonians versus Herets on the Friday night. So again, we'll keep tabs on that. So obviously we look forward to the Guinness Six Nations teeing off this weekend, but if you're not lucky enough or unable to get to a Guinness Six Nations game live, well, you'll be glad to hear that Scottish Rugby's Everyone's Game campaign, which was so successful in the Rugby World Cup, is back. The event encourages clubs to open its doors basically to the public, and you can run all kinds of events and fun days and barbecues. Many barbecues in January will be a test. Maybe a Scottish barbecue under the tarpaulin. Mini festivals, Tartan Touch. These are all examples of events that clubs run so successfully during the Rugby World Cup. There was 85 clubs and schools applied for the support from Scottish Rugby to run their event, and the support includes posters and bunting, t-shirts, signed shirts, gifts from the sponsors. So a really good opportunity for the clubs to engage with the general public and get some events and hopefully some finance certainly behind the bar during the supporting the international teams. So there's been so much positive feedback through the Everyone's Game campaign that we've decided to do the same thing again for the Guinness Six Nations. It kicks off imminently. So applications are now open, and your club can apply for support to run an event from your very own clubhouse, really. So to find out more on that, you can visit scottishrugby.org or just even talk to your regional rugby development contact.
Last week at the Team Hotel in Edinburgh, I sat down with Scotland star Stuart Hogg to discuss his debut in 2012 and his journey to the captaincy in 2020. Stuart Hogg, captain of Scotland. How does that feel when I say those words?
Yeah, look, it's a huge honour to be given the opportunity to lead this team. I think, I've been involved in the leadership group over the last kind of 4 or 5 years, and now to be given the opportunity to captain the side, it's awesome. Very much looking forward to it. I'm nervous, but I'm very, very excited.
Let's go back a bit, Hoggy, to February 2012 when you got your first start for Scotland, coming off the bench, I believe, against Wales, was it?
Yeah.
Away from home. You were 19 years old. What was it like for you? What are your memories of that occasion?
As a kid growing up, all I wanted to do is to play for Scotland, and when I had that opportunity and I managed to get onto the field, it was just an absolute dream come true. I was emotional, I was nervous, but I just went out there and played rugby. I was told I was there for a reason, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience, albeit the result didn't quite go our way, but I was playing for Scotland, and it was the best feeling I could ever have.
You're 19 years old. How do you think you've changed, maybe in your attitude or your approach towards the game and where you are now? Because it's a very young age to come in and not only play for Scotland, but become a fixture of that team. What's changed for you, your mindset or your attitude towards the game?
There's a huge amount changed throughout my time playing for Scotland. I think when I was young, I felt invincible. I felt that I could do absolutely everything, and I was making line breaks. I was having a heap load of fun, but then things started to get tricky. People started to find you out a little bit. You started to have to adapt and change your game, and you had to mature very, very quickly. And it took me a while, but I think the best thing that happened for me, looking back, was the red card. for on the day, it was probably the worst day of my rugby career, but I look back on that with a lot of mixed emotions. But I truly believe that's the best thing that could possibly have happened to me. It gave me the kick up the backside that I possibly needed. Realised I wasn't as good as what I thought I was, and as I say, I had to mature really, really quickly. But I think the best thing is that it was with Gregor. Going back to Glasgow, I didn't play the rest of that season. Tried to leave the club, and done everything wrong that you could possibly think of. But as I say, it was almost the making of the man, and ever since then, there has been different challenges, but I see it in a positive light. And as I say, it was the making of the man. Did
you ever think those, as you put it, those darker days when you got the red card against Wales in Cardiff, and the thought process, and maybe a change you wanted with the chat about leaving Glasgow? Did you ever think then? Did you think captaincy or Scotland? Did you think it might have been so far out of reach for you?
Yeah, I thought, for me, I'm always, quite loud in the pitch. I'm quite vocal in what I want to say. And as time goes by, you learn how to bring it across, how to best bring the point across to everybody, and understand that different people react in different ways. Sometimes some boys like to be shouted at, some boys like to have a quiet word off the field, some boys like to have an arm round them and a jab in the ribs at the same time. So it's learning about all the different players that within the squad. Captaincy, I never thought it would be something I would be passionate about. All I wanted to do was to play rugby, and I didn't want any added pressure. But as time goes by, you realise you're involved in the squad a lot more than first expected, and people start to look at you. And it's something over the last few years I've been really, really passionate about. I've been passionate about doing the best for the team, making sure we get the best out of every single individual. And I felt that as a vote of confidence to be in the leadership group, because there was some areas of strength that I could be a leader at some point. Now that I've got the full captaincy, it's nerve-wracking. Everything's new to me, but I am excited, and I want to make a difference. I want this team to go forward. I want us to play with ambition, which we do, play with confidence, and truly believe in each other's ability, because there is a hell of a lot of talent within this squad, and a hell of a lot of players here that can do a job on international rugby, and I'm excited to see how far we can go.
And with you saying that, the squad you've got, what you believe and what we all know you're capable of on your day, is that where there's maybe a little bit of frustration because of the performance in the World Cup?
We beat ourselves, simple as that. I think you look at that Ireland game, first and foremost, we coughed up the ball 2 or 3 times. It resulted in 2 or 3 tries when we were very much in control of what was happening. We've learned from that, we've moved on. We got a great reaction the week after against Samoa, and that was us, 34-0, 4-try bonus point win, conceding nothing. That's what we're about, and that's the minimum standard that we want to try and create. And I think boys now have got to have realised how tough international rugby is, but it stands us in good stead for going forward. But I think now, gone are the days of looking back on games thinking, we can't be making the same mistakes, we can't be in a situation week after week, time after time going, we beat ourselves again, we made the same mistakes. We have to learn on the move, we have to be in a better position. But that's not to scare boys, that's not to put us in our shell, that's to make us express ourselves, make us have some fun. Because when we're having fun, we're getting good results. And that's exactly what I want everybody to do. Like, I play with confidence, I play with a smile on my face. A lot of boys are in the exact same boat. I want us as a nation to be doing the exact same.
Last week, the Guinness Six Nations launch took place in London, and we caught up with Scotland women captain Rachel Malcolm.
Do you know what? It's a massive honour to captain Scotland, and it's an easy job for me in terms of the squad that I've got, behind me, and the girls are so supportive in everything we do, and they're kind of all just so passionate about what we're trying to achieve. So to get them motivated and get them going, and for every game and training session, really, they make it easy for me. So I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it, and it's a massive honour. I actually think for as long as I've been involved, this is probably the most gelled we are as a squad. I think having the opportunity to go away at the very start of the season for the first time made a massive difference. It was a real opportunity for us to gel kind of throughout the squad rather than little groups, and and especially for the new girls that we've come in, we've really built the depth this year, so to have the opportunity for them to have that concentrated time in the squad just immediately made them feel a part of it, and I think it's starting to show on the pitch, and yeah, no, I think the squad is definitely kind of gelling, and we're ready to go for Six Nations. A successful Six Nations for us would be just consistent performances and pushing on and closing that gap between the other nations. We're really focused on our World Cup qualification in September, so the aim really is just to kind of get players game time, get us more consistent and performing well. The crowd at Scotstoun are fantastic, and it's the kind of atmosphere is building every single time we play there, so it's massive for us to play there, and we absolutely love it. And I think having France and England coming to Scotstoun this year is going to be brilliant, because obviously those are two of the best teams in the competition and in the world, really. So to have that as a showcase in Glasgow for women's rugby is absolutely brilliant, and we're really excited for them to come to Scotstoun.
The FOSROC Super6 is in full flow, and last week we headed down to Millbrae, the home of the Ayrshire Bulls, to sit down with Gordie Reid.
Can you tell us a little bit about your first memories of playing rugby and how it all began?
Here at Ayr, I started when I was 12. I tried all kind of sports, from karate to boxing to roller hockey to street hockey to ice hockey to athletics to everything, and I just didn't really seem that kind of impressed with it. I didn't really like it. Tried the rugby. Yeah, I wasn't really the best rugby player, and I just kind of worked at it, and I got a wee bit better each time I came here, and I liked the process of coming here and passing a bit of ball with some of your mates, and I really enjoyed it, so I just stuck at it there. I got to probably about 17. I had a job when I was 15, all the way through, and I then realised again I didn't think I could kind of make it, and then everything just changed. I just had a thought. I said I could do pretty well at this. I could do pretty well, and then started doing my extra passing sessions myself, getting a tyre and passing it through it, and just different things like fitness wise, going to athletics, and doing stuff like that, which I thought was going to improve my rugby. So I got to probably about 17, and I said, listen, I'm going to get a good crack.
First professional contract with the Warriors, how did that come about?
Yeah, well, I was a part-time with Warriors. I was at Ayr, and then I was part-time with Warriors, training probably 2 days a week. I had my own business at the time. I was a French polisher, so antique restoration. So I done that. Also, I worked behind the bar at the local bar in Prestwick, the Red Lion it was called at the time, and I worked there, and I also had some other jobs. So I was literally doing maybe 3-4 jobs just to try and get that money in, so I could then play rugby at the weekends and do this other stuff with Glasgow. So I tried everything from tyre fitting to roofing to joinery to anything you can think of. I worked in B&Q, I worked in everywhere to try and get the funds. A delivery company too, I tried to do that. So I'd done it all to try and go there for rugby, to try and, like, again, I'm not from the kind of wealthiest background, so it was only me to get the money, so I had to then work hard.
And in terms of your rugby career, stay with Glasgow Warriors, what was your kind of highlight from playing for the Warriors?
Possibly playing my first game was great. I played against Adam Jones, against Ospreys. He was playing Ospreys for the time, and he was just a British Lion, and I played for Ayr. And I was only young at the time, and I hit the scrum, and the first thing was his hair was in my face, and I just started laughing in the scrum. So you can imagine Adam Jones, at his time, the best prop in the world, playing for the British Lions, and I was scrummaging against him, and I was a young boy from here, a bit overweight, still am, but I wanted to ask for his autograph there and then when I hit the scrum, talking to him, because all he was doing was having a bit of carry on. He knew that I was just a young boy, and he could have me up in the air, and yeah, it was cool. It was cool to play against one of your kind of the legends of the game as such. I thought it was great.
And then from then you obviously made your Scotland debut in the US. Is that a career highlight making the debut, or have you got other Scotland memories that stick out more?
Yeah, well, that one was really important to me because, yeah, just growing up, it was great. It was just to play for Scotland was the highlight, but the highlight was getting my mum and dad, because they couldn't afford to come over to Texas. They couldn't afford the flight over and to stay over there, which was a bit of a kick in the teeth, because my mum and dad would watch me all the way through. So the owner of Chestnuts down in there, it's a hotel down there, so him and my agent Sandy at the time, they just had a conversation, and they paid for my wife, my mum and my dad to come over, which was really special because they seen me play my first cap. Yeah, I got my cap, but it wasn't all about that, it was just about my family getting to see me too.
And what have you made of the Super 6 so far?
I think there's a lot of good talent coming through. A lot of, you can see it in all the teams, to be honest. And I think that can only be beneficial for Scottish Rugby. Trying to play a higher standard, trying to create a couple of more professional teams, I think could only be great for Scottish Rugby.
And do you think the Ayrshire Bulls are in a position to win the tournament?
I think it's going to be challenging, but I think there's a lot of great teams in this league, and I think we've got the strength and depth in a lot of positions, and boys coming back from injury, I think we could definitely put up a good fight.
Thanks very much for listening to the official Scottish Rugby podcast, brought to you in partnership with the Royal Bank of Scotland. We'll be back next week with more exclusive content.